Hello and welcome back to the Real Music Talks. Today's guest is the Hanging Bandits, a four-piece folk rock band from Hertfordshire. How you guys doing?
Yeah, we're good, man. How you doing?
Not too bad. I'm trying to get a bit sun in. It's lovely weather today, so
Yeah,
got to make the most of
bank
it.
holiday Monday.
Where are you, man?
Where am I? I'm in Bristol at the moment.
nice.
Yeah, right by Cribbs Causeway, if you know where that is.
No clue. But it looks bloody sunny, which is amazing. There we go.
It's very hot.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the questions and stuff. So for someone that's never heard of you before, like, how would you describe your style and your sound?
I think we're an alternative folk band. We focus on kind of socially conscious topics, and I think working class life. I think they're the things that kind of summarize us as a band. There's a lot of stuff about working class life. There's a lot of kind of social commentary, and we're a folk act. I think that summarizes us pretty good.
And there's an underlying satirical nature to our music that is present, and I think that's kind of what puts everything together musically, lyrically. It's just that, weaves everything together. That's kind of like, we love comedy, man, and so I feel like it's kind of like a lot of it is it's not a comedy act, but you kind of have to take things with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at someone like Father John Misty, his lyrics, there's a touch of satire, there's a lot of humor in them, but I don't think many people take him for like a comedy act. It's legitimate, serious music. It's just that he's trying to imbue the lyricism with a sense of there's kind of a wittiness to it and an informal approach to the lyrics in a way. And so we're on a similar tip to that.
How did you end up there, if that makes sense? So, like, why did you consciously make that choice?
Well, I mean, so speaking from a lyrical perspective, I do most of the lyrics, although Sandy and Alex also help out with some lyrics. So for me, it's been a process of development where it's really about trying to hone the things that interest me. So that's outside of lyricism as well, outside of music. I'm very interested in prose and poetry, so I'm trying to bring a lot of those techniques in without veering into pretension. I mean, I'm not talking about there's an informal approach to good writing, right? And that's what I'm trying to put into the lyrics. So how did we get to that stage? I've got a literary background, so I tried to bring that to the lyrics to an extent. And then as my own interests have developed, I mean, so when I first started doing this, there was kind of a sense of kind of dour seriousness that I kind of borrowed from the early Manic Street Preachers work. But then as I've written more songs and more lyrics, we've started it's simply you get into someone new and you think, well, all right, cool. How did Father John manage to make me laugh, or whatever? And then you look at how you can utilize some of those strategies yourself in your own music without being too what's the word I'm looking for? Without being too
plagiarizing.
Yeah, well, without giving it your own spin, giving it something that works for you, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Derivative was the word I was looking for. There we go.
Yeah.
That's the better sounding word. So, like, how did you guys first get into music? Maybe like separately, like, what instrument did you start with? Like, what kind of got you into music as like the first like level of interest? If that makes sense.
Well, it was the guitar. I mean, for me, I was given a guitar. I was in a summer. I used to go to a summer camp in America, and there I basically I got the injection of music. Somebody passed it on to me, and ever since then I've just not been able to put the guitar down. And along with the guitar, I came to England to study music production in uni, and then basically then I realized that why should I just play the guitar if there's all these instruments that I can literally put my hands on and make sound with? Like, why would I just be a guitar player? So it was a pretty natural progression, and I mean, I basically play quite a few instruments, the usual ones. I used to play the drums. We used to be a rock band, a rockier band. And I used to play the drums in that one. We needed to get the music going, and we didn't have a drummer. So I was like, well, I'll jump at the drums so we can get it, rolling.
Yeah, and so, sorry to cut you off, but the reason we're not a rock band anymore is just because it's too expensive to rehearse, man. Like, this is hard. There's not a whole lot of money in it, especially when you're not able to do live shows. Obviously, live shows may be back on the cards now. And so we had to give up being a rock band because it's just too damn expensive. Whereas being a folk band, you can rehearse in someone's bedroom, or someone's garden.
The logistics become a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I've been. So then I go back to instruments and stuff. We started jamming. Alex and I started jamming, and then after quite a few jams, we just asked ourselves, like, why do we just keep jamming? Why don't we actually make something? And then Alex said, I've got a friend who's this guy who writes lyrics. Why don't we get some of those lyrics down? Why don't we try to put some music to it? And we literally did that, and it was pretty easy. It was pretty seamless. And then we put a song together. We sent it to him, and then that was it, man. He liked it. We liked it. It was like, sure, let's do it. And ever since, man, we've just been developing. And I mean, I approach instruments as in necessity. If I need to play it, I will get my hands on it, and I'll make a sound. I'll see if I can make something good out of it. I mean, I have a saxophone. I wouldn't consider myself like a fluent saxophone player, but at least I can have some fun, going up and down and scales and shit. So, that's kind of how I approach it. That's how I approach it, and it's good fun. It's good fun.
Right, then for me, truthfully, I'm much less musically gifted or experienced than Santi. What I tend to bring, or than Alex or Tom, the other guys in the band, they're all pretty good musicians, and I get by. But what I bring is lyrics and a real attention to detail on the lyrical front. I mean, I think a lot of people throw lyrics together in a kind of you have a melody in your head and you want to accommodate the melody, right? And you don't want to say anything that makes you look silly, but at the same time, fundamentally, it's a game of let's fill up the syllables of the melody. So obviously, we're doing that to an extent, the same as anyone is. But we're trying to be as thoughtful about it as possible. And I think that when there's someone who's, I kind of think of my instrument in the band. I play bass and I play guitar, but in terms of my real contributions, I think of it in terms of lyrics.
Definitely, man.
And I think that having someone who's kind of sole focus is the lyrical side of things. It allows these guys to play around with the music, and in the same way that if you're a guitar player, you want your guitar parts to be as awesome as possible. We have someone who's sole focus. I agonize about single words and single syllables for like sometimes weeks. So that's kind of
true fact.
That's kind of my place in all this.
Dude, but that makes us so lucky, man, because that literally, like, I've realized that having somebody that provides you lyrics is for a musician like a blessing, man, from the fucking gods of the universe. Because like I think of Elton John, and like the motherfucker probably couldn't write many lyrics, but the fucker had that Burner guy, I think, and did they went far, So that's really helpful, man, because that kind of, I do like writing lyrics, and my approach to lyrics is a lot more surreal. I like to play with words, see how I can just kind of put meanings together, but I've never really ventured too much into lyric writing. But to have you or Alex bring in pretty interesting lyrics, that allows me to just play on the guitar and just really explore the musical side of it. And also just having such a thorough writing, man, it's just like it's very inspiring, you know. It's a good incentive to write something that is really on point also. Yeah.
Do you ever have a struggle actually getting things down? Because you both strike me as like perfectionists with your music and your lyrics. So do you ever kind of get into a bit of a hole with that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, there's holes.
I mean, so the first things that come to mind when you ask that for me are there are sets of lyrics that maybe I wrote a year or two ago that these guys are still working with. And then maybe I hear them, I'm like, dude, these lyrics kind of suck, man. Like, you know, so there's that, which obviously it's a very personal thing because I'm so engaged with the lyric writing process. Obviously, I'm going to notice what I feel like, you know, I feel like I've developed in the past year as a writer. And so when they drop something old, the perfectionist comes out in me and I kind of want to rewrite lines or but that starts a whole kind of snowball effect because unless you've got a line that really perfectly sits in the same kind of rhyme scheme or with the same syllable pattern, then you know you've got kind of an uphill struggle. The other thing is when it comes to recording, man, oh my, like we've been working on a tune at the minute called Mutual Interest. I've been playing it for two or 3 years live. It's been a part of our set for years, and for some reason I can't really get the guitar part down for it. I don't know, we'll get there eventually, but it's certainly been a frustrating process, and I believe that probably someone less perfectionistic would probably have accepted the guitar part already. These guys keep telling me it's fine, but we'll see if it is.
You know, I think we're lucky that we're part of a band that we bounce off each other, because like he will agonize over lyrics, I will probably agonize over, you know, the production side of it. You know, I will look at, you know, harmonies, I will look at the rhythm, and I will literally analyze it thoroughly so I can, you know, that's the process I want to engage with, you know, trying to become a better songwriter, a better producer. And I want to pay attention to all of that. But the fact that these guys can also just tell me like, dude, Santi, just chill now. It's nice. I think this process is like we all benefit from that.
Yeah.
If we were like one-man bands, like if it was my own project, I'd go insane. If he was probably writing on his own, he would probably go insane. So I think the fact that there's a few of us just allows us to have a different perspective and stuff.
Yeah.
But there are holes, man.
Yeah.
But that's part of the process, man, and it's a lovely process, and hopefully we're learning, and hopefully the output will be better and better.
So thinking about that process, what does like a songwriting process look like, say, for you guys now compared to like when you started? I think it'd be interesting to hear like the contrast.
Okay.
It is
like how you developed.
Okay.
Well, to put it simply, when we started, we were more of a rock band, live playing band. So we used to write songs to prepare them for a set, and we used to prepare them for live and stuff. Whereas now we are, of course, since the pandemic, you know, there's no live gigging at all. So most of this songwriting has been more in the producing kind of side of it. So we are writing songs from the production side of it, where we used to just throw songs together, the four of us playing together and throw it. Now it's more of a, all right, we let's write parts for this song that we are recording, and it's a very different process. And you know, they're both very enjoyable. But so now we are more in the production side of, you know, songwriting.
I mean, but also I think. So obviously a big shift with the songwriting occurred when we moved from being a rock band essentially to being a folk band. I think that freed us up to approach some songs that we maybe would have struggled to approach when we were a four-piece rock act. So our most recent track, Dogs Make the Best Mountaineers, I think that's a good example, right? Because that's got a lot of layers on it that we can do live. You know, there's really, like, yeah, we can play the song live, and you can go on YouTube, you can see us play it live, but it's not going to be the same experience you get from the single. And this is something we've been thinking about a lot. So the live experience is one thing, but especially for the time being, there ain't much of that going on. So we wanted to try and create, rather than trying to capture the song that we play live as well as we can in the studio, we wanted to capture the song as we kind of heard it in our heads, how we'd like it to be heard on the radio. And so this freed us up to getting a lot of other layers to get in, particularly strings. We've been working with a lot more. We're lucky to have your friend Harvey, who helps us arrange strings, and feeling free to experiment with that. Also feeling free to experiment with different instrumentation in general and taking our time on it. So we'd like to think we're fairly prolific. Like, we release quite a lot of material. But part of that process is being able to record in our bedrooms where we can really spend the time that we need, rather than, booking studio time and feeling, not just is time ticking down, but money's ticking down as well. So not tying ourselves to that way of producing music has helped, and moving away from the rock band thing has allowed us to do a lot more in terms of more traditional songwriting in a way, but very quite satisfying songwriting for us, at least.
It's an interesting perspective, and a lot of bands have found that, I think, with the pandemic. It kind of like changes your approach completely, because now you've got all this time, and you're not bound by like the same constraints. So how have you guys coped with like the lockdowns and everything that's gone on with COVID?
Well, I mean, it's such a big one. On a personal level, everyone's, it's a difficult time. We've not been able to see our friends a lot. Santi lives in the UK, but he's from Spain, so he's not seen his family in way too long.
2 years. That's too long, man. Yeah, 2 years is too long.
But on the musical front, more optimistically, I think we've been doing all right. Most of us live together, so we've been able to keep making music. I think the time that we've had, like you kind of alluded to earlier, it allows you thinking space, artistic space, and developmental space. When this first kicked off March last year, I mean, I know it started before then, but when it got real for a lot of us was March last year, and that was a very difficult time to be creative for a good couple of months. Did you find that as well? Yeah. So during that time, truthfully, we talked a lot about doing stuff. We didn't get that much done. We did a couple of covers that you can check out on YouTube. But on the whole, it was a difficult time. As everything settled down, we, like everyone, I think we've metabolized and processed the situation and started to think about, how to move forward as the band, because we felt like if we weren't still pushing stuff out, if we weren't active on social media, the truth is, after a year and a half of not playing, what reason do people have to check us out? So we wanted to make sure that we kept doing things, and so we've focused on video production and songwriting, and when we can, we've done. I'm hesitant to call them live shows, because obviously they're just like us streaming in the woods or whatever. Yeah. But essentially, like, that's how we've replaced live playing, is by doing these little kind of informal sets here and there. And so we've stayed active, so it's been good. It's in terms of being able to keep doing what we do, it's been good. But we're looking forward to the live circuit again. And hopefully getting around the UK a little bit.
No, that would be lovely, man. Yeah. What's the live music situation down in Bristol at the moment?
They've started events and everything again, which is quite interesting. Like yesterday, there was like a DJ event in the centre, and I was at that, like lovely bars and everything. So it's getting back to normal now. But yeah, it's kind of like enabled musicians to have like a different approach to going back to live. So how are you guys going to approach that, especially now you've got like all these extra layers, right, on your recordings? Are you going to try and replicate that, or is it going to be like a completely new, different experience?
So I think there's probably going to be some different opinions in the band as to how to approach this that we'll have to figure out. Speaking for myself, I think that when I see a band live personally and I hear them play songs exactly or pretty much exactly as they are on the album, to include like you know, putting strings in that aren't, you know, there's no strings, but what's it called, you know, like backing track strings and stuff. That stuff personally doesn't really work for me. I rather see a band, even if the song ends up quite different. I think if a good song's a good song, then you will hear it. You don't need the strings. So at the same time, then the question is, well, why did we put the strings on? Well, you know, these are matters of percentages, and what you enjoy listening on monitors or on headphones or on the radio is not necessarily, is a totally different context to when you hear it live. When you hear us live, obviously there's live energy, there's the spirit that we're bringing. And for me, that makes up way more than enough for the lack of strings. So I don't really think about that. Plus, sooner or later, we will get people down to come and join us with strings. We've worked with some lovely musicians, and we can't wait for an excuse to get them down to a Hanging Bandits show to play cello for us. So, you know,
I think what's going to be is we will have a close look at the arrangements that we've done, and we're going to try to maximize what we can do, but we're not going to go, you know, stupidly to just make sure I can play that F sharp on this weird thing that adds this beautiful. No. We'll make the most of our four players situation at the moment, and as much as we can do, great. For example, we've been adding like toms and snares to our songs lately. So, well, this last song that we're recording on, Mutual Interest, Alex only sings. I think this is basically the first song where he literally only sings. So that basically means he's got hands to use. So he could possibly just either get on the snare or get on the tom. So we just need to have a close look at what elements can we actually get in.
Yeah.
And then just trying to pimp them out.
Yeah, I mean, part of this process is figuring out what are the things that people enjoy listening to the most, right? Or what are the aspects of the song that really need to be there. Like if you're covering Day Tripper by the Beatles and you're not going to drop the Day Tripper riff, you know, obviously there's a mistake has been made here, because that's a core part of the song, right? So we need to figure out what the core parts of the song are in each individual case. All of our songs can be played with one acoustic guitar and sung, you know, at their core, they're simple folk songs. Or if you're a real old school traditional folk fan, then I guess you probably don't want to call us folk, and that's fine. Call us
we've gotten that, you know, we've gotten that. We've been sharing our music as folk, and people go like, "This is not folk."
Honestly, it's one of my favorite responses. Is like the folk Puritans arguing with me. I love it.
Gotta love it. Yeah, gotta love it, man.
I think I mean, I talk about this quite a lot, but it can get you into a bit of trouble, like trying to pigeonhole your music into a genre anyway. Like, because there's so many influences from different places, and it's clear with you guys too, right? So it's kind of like, well, why would you put it into one? But you have to brand yourself for something.
That's
the thing.
That's the core point is, and I think a lot of people, like when we kind of talk informally to people who are interested in our music, a lot of people will say, you know, you're not really this, or you're not really that. It's like, true, yeah, we're probably not really
anything.
Yeah, in a sense, we're not really anything. We're a band who love music, and we play mostly acoustic music that's heavily influenced by the traditions of folk music, and that's why we call ourselves folk music. I do believe we're writing, roughly speaking, into that same tradition. But at the same time, it's as you say, the core thing is, as kind of perverse as it sounds to say, you have to be able to brand yourself, and you have to be able to sell yourself. Even as simple as, you know, posting to Facebook groups. You know, the Facebook groups are called like indie rock or folk rock. Like you have to label yourself something. You know, it is what it is.
It'd be interesting to hear like more about the lyrics that you write, like what influences the lyrics, and like what kind of messages are you trying to get across?
Okay, so, and there's, whatever I say, there's got to be a couple of exceptions to it, right? I try not to be, although I mentioned that we kind of are on a we kind of do social commentary. I'm really not writing super partisan songs. I don't really want to tell people how to think. And I think that the political music that's very, and listen, I love some of this music, so I'm not dissing it really. It's just not what I want to do. The really direct stuff, I personally, I'm not super interested in writing that. So a lot of how we achieve this is by the types of stuff we choose to talk about, the types of stories we're deciding to tell, which are very generally very local. But then there's broader social commentary as well. But you're not gonna get a song from us which is like Donald Trump sucks. That song's been done 100 times already. That exact song exists on YouTube like 50 times. It doesn't need to be done again. So I would say we're much more in line with someone like the Manic Street Preachers, particularly their earlier stuff. It is very influenced by the wider culture as well as by their local environment, and it's influenced by literature as well as lyricism. And I think for us that's a very important thing. So
what are some literary influences that you've got, man? Not so much music.
Okay. So if we eliminate sort of the songwriters from the people who interest me, you're looking at people like Sylvia Plath. You're looking at people like oh man, now I'm on the spot. It's hard. Albert Camus. Camus is a huge one for me. Not particularly. Okay, so this is a good example. I think maybe Camus. Obviously, he's a Nobel Prize, or was a Nobel Prize winning author and philosopher. What I take from him is what I try to take from him is, I think these are themes that are touched on, particularly the kind of angst, the alienation, the existential dread. These things are touched on in music, but in a very, oftentimes in a very
light, isn't it?
Either light or shallow, or sometimes just overly direct. For me, that's a problem. Some people like that. I don't like things to be overly direct. I feel like if I write lyrics where I'm just kind of telling you a series of things that I've not really done a lot of work myself, like I want to, if I want to express something to you, I want to do it with images, and I really want to create a short movie in your head that when you go back to analyze that movie, you go, oh okay, so was he maybe getting at that point? That's kind of the effect I'm trying to have. And so people like Camus are a big influence, because these are people who their major works in fiction are in-depth explorations of these considerations. Now, of course, what I'm doing is nowhere near on that tip, realistically speaking, but it's about trying to take some of the framework that these people have constructed and utilizing aspects of it for lyricism and songwriting.
There's a phenomenon in this culture nowadays where everything has to be so explicit for people to understand and to take it, and for them to process it, and for them to like it. And we just don't like explicit. We like to, hide behind the lines, hide behind meanings, hide behind images, and just make things not very. It's not that we don't want to make things accessible, but we want to give the opportunity to wonder about what we're presenting. And everything nowadays is just so obvious and so in the face that we just don't want to. We want to make sure that we're providing some thoughts.
And I don't
know if that makes us very pretentious again, but it's what it is.
Maybe it makes us pretentious. I'm not sure. That's for other people to decide, I guess. But I think there is something to be said for
just live into the imagination. Huh?
Yeah. It's like, your song should be about something, right? It shouldn't just be a bunch of abstract kind of nonsense. In my opinion, it should have a kind of theme and a purpose. At the same time, if you personally as the listener have a different reaction to it, and you fit aspects of your own personality and character into it, your own history into it, well, that's the beauty of it. And this is another reason why I don't want to write super explicit things, because if I write a story that's literally about, me and Santi went on a lovely holiday the other week. If you've had a lovely holiday, then yeah, maybe you like the song, but I feel like I can write it in a way that allows you to relate to it if you've had the experience, and if you've not, there's other things that are relevant to it that you can bring to it and that inform your reaction.
How is that pertinent, or how in a song like Hannah James, for example, which is it's a song that came out of an event, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. So we've got a tune called Hannah and James.
How do you approach that?
Kind of a funny contrast. Hannah and James was written really quickly with Alex, the other singer in the band. And unlike most of our tunes, it really is extremely explicit. It is. When I say explicit, I don't mean like...
No, we don't mean like sexual explicit. We just mean like, you can tell what we're saying,
Yeah, it's very obvious what the song's about. The song's about, we played a festival, our tents got ruined in the rain, and some people took us in and allowed us to stay in their tents. It was just that. But that contrasts a lot with most of what we do, because... if you listen to Hannah and James and then listen to a song like Existential Night at the Comedy Store,
mm-hmm.
you maybe get a slight impression just from the names that one is perhaps a little bit more verbose than the other, and one's a very simple story, and one I hope people will be able to listen to and get a lot of different things from it.
Great. We're nearly out of time, unfortunately, guys. But is there anything else you'd like to leave our audience with?
Please check our YouTube. We've got most of our music all of our music is on YouTube. We've got all of the videos that you may want to enjoy. If you want to reach out to us, please do. We always love a bit of communication, banter, controversy, all of it. We love it. So get involved. Enjoy it, please enjoy it. And
on a more general tip, I would say if you're watching this, it's probably because you're interested in kind of low-key, unsigned music. And if that's the case, regardless of whether you have any interest in our stuff, I would encourage you to go see your favorite local band if you can, or buy their merch, or literally comment on their videos or share their stuff. This stuff really does go a long way for bands like us, who, we very much rely on the kindness of strangers, because certainly the Facebook algorithm's got no kindness for us anymore. So forget whether you're interested in the Hanging Bandits. Check us out if you like, but if not, whoever you do like around there, do something to show them some love. Drop them a like, drop them a comment, or buy something off Bandcamp. That's the main thing. Let's try and keep the grassroots music scene growing. That would be great.
Aye.
And thank you for having us.
No worries, anytime. I think that's really great. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Thanks a lot, man. Take it easy, man.
Have a good one.